Deepak Vora, former diplomat and former secretary, Ministry of External Affairs. Ambassador Vora, always good to have you on my show. And the question I want to ask you is that we saw the Prime Minister visit Ladakh today. It looked very nice. We all heard him, and it made all sense that he was trying to boost the morale of the soldiers over there. But latently, it has also sent a very strong, a very powerful message to our adversaries, hasn't it?
Thank you very much, Mr. Malhotra, for your invitation to be on your show. Always a pleasure to be on an amazing channel that gives a balanced view of everything. First, the visit to Leh, the surprise visit. I've seen this in my life. I remember twice. One was when George Bush showed up unannounced at Thanksgiving in Iraq to be with the American troops. And second was when President Vladimir Putin showed up in Chechnya when the war was at its height. I cannot tell you how important this is for the military and for the people of the region that is in a conflict situation. What is remarkable, sir, I'm a special advisor to the Autonomous Hill Development Council at Kargil and Leh, and whenever I go there 2 or 3 times a year, the first thing I do at my age, I'm 69, is to take a medicine called acetazolamide because the oxygen level there are lower. It's lower by 30% from what it would be, for example, in the nation's capital. And then you take this medicine that suppresses the oxygen requirement. Now, the Prime Minister going there despite his health concerns, and most of the time when I go there, in the first 24 hours, we spend horizontal. They tell us to relax, not do anything energetic. But to see this man walking like a teenager, running around, talking to the troops, speaking, it says volumes about his commitment, about his decisive leadership, which I have not seen. And today, whatever estimation I had of Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been multiplied by 1,000,000 times. The message to the Indian military, today 130 crore Indians are all soldiers. We are all with the Indian Army. We may not wear uniforms, but we will fight for India and we will back our military to the hilt. The 1962 disconnect people talk about between the military and the political leadership doesn't exist. The nation is united in supporting our men and women in uniform. Sir, let me just share with you, if you give me a minute, something about the Chinese in which I've had personal experience. In the late 2000s, 4 Indian oil workers were kidnapped in the Sudan. It was an ongoing conflict between the rebels and the government. And the then Indian ambassador there offered himself in exchange for the hostages. His Chinese counterpart did not. Secondly, when the oil producing areas in Sudan, there was a conflict. Again, the rebels came, attacked the oil fields, and they were trying to drive the Chinese workers away from the oil fields. And then the Chinese ambassador contacted his Indian counterpart and talked about bhai bhai and said, please ask the Indian military, which was present there as peacekeepers, to protect the Chinese workers. How do I know this, sir? I was your ambassador then in Sudan. So I'm totally aware that when they need help, they'll come to you on their knees talking about brotherhood. And when they feel they are strong, then they'll try to bully you. Their bluff, sir, has been called. This is what I want to say. But what a message has gone out. You've seen ASEAN's statement on saying that the Chinese are messing around in the South China Sea, Sea of Japan, East China Sea, etc. And that the ASEAN people want to have faith in the United Nations Convention on the Law of Peace.
Right.
You can't claim all this as your maritime zone. The second thing, sir, China now saying that they are going to take India to court. Happy birthday. Since when did China start believing in international law? I mean, not so long ago, the Philippines and China were fighting it out in the Permanent Court of Arbitration over some islands in the South China Sea. The Philippines won. And the Chinese turned around and say, well, goodbye, friends. We don't recognize the United Nations, this particular United Nations agency. I mean, where are we going? China got into the UN, sir, by replacing Taiwan in 1971. Some of the then big powers facilitated that. Today, I am convinced it was a mistake. The Republic of China was booted out through a decision of the UN General Assembly. I hope and pray that they will boot the People's Republic of China out. They have no right to be in the General Assembly, in the United Nations, in the UN Security Council. They should just sit back. Let them be in the UN, but not in the UNSC. Somebody else. India should be there, sir. This is a very strongly held view.
Absolutely.
And as you rightly said, my heart is on my sleeve, sir.
Ambassador Vora, do you concur when when I say that diplomatically India has set an example, set a precedent when it comes to reaching out to our allies and partners all across the world, and the support that has come, it has not only been strong, but it has also been extremely swift. Strategically, obviously, lots more needs to be done, and it is an ongoing process. It never stops. But diplomatically, India is a victor.
We have seen this all the time, Mr. Malhotra. People sometimes don't take the Indian diplomatic service, to which I'm privileged to belong, very seriously, think we are not effective. Let me assure you, when it comes to India's vital interests, we are very, very effective. There was a case many people have forgotten when we had to elect a judge to the International Court of Justice. Our candidate was Justice Dalbir Bhandari. The British had put up someone and were spreading rumors that India, a former colony, would withdraw. Well, we didn't. Ultimately, it was the British who withdrew their candidate because everybody said we are going to vote for the Indian. You know, when we get together, this is now, I'm seeing in my 47 years in diplomacy, I'm seeing for the first time an all-of-country approach. The military, the government, the diplomatic service, and the people, all four important elements, are united and are speaking with one voice. There will be a few dissenting political comments, but we take them in our stride. We are a democratic system. Let me also tell you something, sir, which I would like to share, that the achievement of the Indian diplomatic service, of the Indian leadership, we have an outstanding foreign minister, we have a brilliant foreign secretary. I know them both. They are junior to me in the service, yet I salute them because I believe they are head and shoulders above any level that I ever achieved. Super guys. And they have reached out to people. Our ambassadors in different countries have reached out. Soon, I believe, even the African Union, representing 54 countries in the African continent, will come out with a statement. Even though China claims to have invested heavily in that continent, they'll come out and say, buddy, enough is enough. I mean, we don't like you. The Europeans are upset. The liberal democracies are upset about what's going on in Hong Kong. Everybody is upset about what's going on the border, the South China Sea. Do you know, sir, that the new law that they've introduced in Hong Kong, if I were a student in Hong Kong and my teacher said, what do you think of India? And I said, oh, India is a great country, I could be accused, I could be taken to court, to jail for glorifying a potential enemy of China.
You could be there for life.
I had been there for life. Is this some kind of a joke? I mean, these guys think that anybody in the world takes them seriously. Let me just also refer to one other incident, sir, and this is for all my children in the army, our sons and daughters. Sir, I had gone to the Congo, the Democratic Congo. You recall that when it became independent in 1961, a very rich part of the Zaire or Congo had seceded, called Katanga, and Indian peacekeepers had gone there. And in a place called Elizabethville, which is now called Lubumbashi, the rebels were planning to encircle the UN headquarters and run it over. So an Indian Gurkha unit led by a young Sikh soldier, Captain G.S. Salaria, they were tasked with clearing out almost 1,500 Katangese gendarmes, policemen who were blocking the road. He had only a few dozen Gurkhas with him. What did he do, sir? They pulled out their kukris, they screamed, Ayo Gurkhali, and they charged. And the Katangese, 1,500, scattered in total confusion. This young officer, he died because of the gunshots he received in his neck. He was awarded the Paramveer Chakra. When I went to Lubumbashi last, I asked the governor, can you find someone who was there at that time? They found a 85-year-old fellow who was an interpreter. And he was interpreting for the Indian delegation. I asked this person, I said, do you remember? He said, I remember it like it was yesterday. I said, what happened? He said, I told the captain that there are far too many, you are very few. And I said, what did the captain answer? And the captain answered, please see what an Indian soldier is made of. I mean, how can you fight a military like this, sir?
Right, absolutely.
It makes your heart swell with pride. You feel so good about the army. To all those in Leh and Ladakh, I've been to every part of that magnificent state in India, magnificent union territory. Let me tell you that it is now totally committed to standing up to Chinese aggression. The Ladakhi greet Chule, and they end every conversation with me with Jai Hind. What more?
Right. Ambassador Vora, you think socially, economically, internationally, globally rather, the decadence of China has begun?
May I make a prediction? I'm not in the business of making predictions, but let me say three things. By the end of this year, a fellow called Xi Jinping would have resigned on health grounds. That is their system. He would claim that his health doesn't, etc. Secondly, China will explode in nationwide protests for democracy. They are seeing what is happening. They are seeing the value of a democratic system. And third, the Communist Party of China will be relegated to the dustbin of history. These are the three predictions I make. Sir, I don't have a crystal ball. I'm an observer analyst. I look at what is happening. I look at the million mutinies taking place within mainland China, and I see that the end is nigh.
Right. And Ambassador Vohra, if we are getting into the realm or the business of clairvoyance, let's also talk about where India will be, according to you, by the end of this year.
When a country lifts one Indian out of extreme poverty every second, not my figure, sir, this is the world poverty clock. When we build one toilet every 2 seconds, when we open 2 bank accounts every second, when from 7% literacy in 1951, when I was made in India, we are now hovering around 85%. We've done something right, sir. You can see the mega trends about India. I mean, we have the largest working age, productive age population in the world. 1 billion people between the ages of 15 and 64. Less than 15, you consume more than you produce. More than 64, you consume more than you produce. But between 15 and 64, I have 1 billion people. My country has 1 billion people. And when they come into the workforce, I have 340 million students. Let them join the workforce, sir. Nobody can stop you. Nobody will have the power to stop you. An American President, Barack Obama, comes 3 times to India to see the revolution taking place here. Trump comes here when we help him with COVID. You like him, you don't like him, irrelevant. He says, we shall never forget India's help. India has been great. These are signals that we are trained to interpret, sir. And I can see the signals pointing in the direction that India is heading. Whether it's one prime minister or another, the momentum has gathered. A decisive leadership, a young nation, high level of education, great focus on healthcare, Ayushman Bharat, etc. Everything is converging for the resurgence of India. And finally, sir, do I still have a minute, or do you want me to stop?
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.